It's an old Chinese proverb, often attributed to Lao Tzu, and almost everyone has heard it at some point in their life. The meaning seems simple, clear, direct. If you want something, take the first step. Have the courage to begin. Move. And that first step, it matters. It's powerful because it represents decision. It represents commitment. It represents the moment you stop dreaming and start doing. But what fascinates me is not the first step. It's what happens immediately after it. Because starting is romantic, continuing is hard. The real story begins when the excitement fades and you find yourself standing at the base of something massive, just you and the long road ahead. You've begun the journey. You've made the promise. You've told yourself, this is it. And then reality hits. You finally see how far you have to go. This is the turning point, the moment that separates dreamers from achievers. Most people think success is about courage at the beginning. It's not. It's about endurance in the middle. When you look at why people quit, it's rarely because they didn't care enough. It's rarely because they didn't want it badly. Most of the time, they quit because they were overwhelmed. Overwhelmed by the size of the mountain. Overwhelmed by the time it would take. Overwhelmed by how far they still had to go. They stared at the entire journey instead of focusing on the next step. Imagine this. You have a dream to climb a mountain. You picture yourself at the top, standing above the clouds, wind rushing across your face, pride swelling in your chest. Every time you imagine it, your heart beats faster. You feel alive, inspired, driven. So you prepare. You pack your gear, you train a little. You tell people about your plan. You build the excitement in your mind. Then one morning you stand at the base of the mountain and you look up. Suddenly it feels different. The summit is so far away it almost disappears into the sky. The climb looks steep. The rocks look sharp. The path looks uncertain. It's no longer a dream. It's a challenge. That is the moment when many people turn around. Not because they don't want the view from the top, but because they can't mentally process the size of the climb. They see one giant, impossible obstacle. The people who succeed see something different. They don't see a mountain. They see steps. They see checkpoints. They see small stretches. They see manageable tasks. They see the next 10 feet. The difference is perception. Success belongs to those who can break something enormous into something doable. When people fail, it's often not because the goal was impossible. It's because they treated it like one giant task instead of 1,000 small ones. Think about how often we set goals. I want to be in the best shape of my life. I want to start a business. I want to become financially free. I want to be the next superstar athlete. I want to change my life. These goals sound powerful, but they're mountains. If you tell yourself you want to be the next Tom Brady or the next Kobe Bryant, that sounds inspiring until you realize how high that standard is. That's like trying to hit a target from a mile away. It feels impossible because you're comparing your starting point to someone else's peak. But here's the truth. No one becomes great in one leap. Greatness is built in fragments. If you want to become a better football player, what does that actually mean today? Does it mean studying film for 30 extra minutes? Does it mean improving your footwork drills? Does it mean refining your diet? Does it mean practicing one specific skill repeatedly until it becomes automatic? If you want to become a better basketball player, what does that mean this week? Does it mean 100 extra free throws per day? Does it mean focusing on defensive positioning? Does it mean strengthening your weak hand? When you break the mountain into stones, it becomes climbable. When you turn the marathon into 400-meter stretches, it becomes manageable. You stop worrying about mile 26. You focus on the next lap. This shift in mindset is everything. Instead of saying, I have to achieve this massive dream, you say, what is my objective today? Today, tomorrow, the end of this week, the end of this month, the end of this year. And you attack those one by one. Small victories create momentum, and momentum creates belief. When you complete a task, even a small one, your brain registers progress. You feel capable. You feel focused. You feel engaged in the process rather than intimidated by the outcome. That's how dreams stay alive. Dreams die when they feel abstract. Dreams live when they feel active. The process is where power lives. And let's be honest, things will go wrong. At some point, something will blow up in your face. That's part of being human on this unpredictable planet we call Earth. Plans will fail. People will disappoint you. Efforts won't always pay off immediately. Results may come slower than expected. That's when your foundation matters. If your only motivation was the final destination, you'll collapse when obstacles appear. But if your motivation is the daily process, the small steps, the routine, the discipline, then setbacks don't destroy you. They redirect you because you're not attached to one giant leap. You're attached to consistent progress. This mindset applies far beyond sports or career goals. It applies to loss. Lose your job, and it can feel like the mountain just collapsed on top of you. Go through a breakup, and it can feel like your entire world has shattered, fail an exam, and suddenly your future feels uncertain. These events are monumental if you allow them to be. They can become unclimbable mountains in your mind, or they can become roadmaps. Losing a job can force you to reassess your skills, your passions, your direction. A breakup can teach you about boundaries, self-worth, growth. Failing a test can reveal gaps in preparation and discipline. The event itself is not the mountain. Your perception of it is. If you define success clearly and then begin stepping toward it, 1 hour at a time, one day at a time, you'll be surprised how quickly momentum builds. Most people underestimate the power of a focused hour. 1 hour of deep study every day, 1 hour of deliberate practice, 1 hour of honest reflection, 1 hour of strategic planning. Stack that over weeks and months, and it compounds. Small steps, consistently taken, outperform occasional bursts of motivation. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is structural. Motivation gets you started. Structure keeps you moving. When you stop obsessing over the summit and focus on the trail beneath your feet, something interesting happens. You become present. You stop measuring yourself against the entire distance. You measure yourself against yesterday. Did I improve? Did I show up? Did I complete today's objective? If the answer is yes, you're winning. And winning daily builds identity. You stop saying, I hope I succeed. You start saying, I am someone who progresses. That identity shift changes everything, because once you believe you are a person who moves forward daily, quitting becomes harder. Let's return to the mountain. If you stare at the peak every second, you'll exhaust yourself mentally. But if you say, let me just reach that rock ahead, then once you reach it, let me get to that tree, and then let me get to that ridge, you'll look back eventually and realize you've climbed higher than you thought possible. Progress often feels slow up close, but dramatic from a distance. The key is to respect the small step. We live in a culture that glorifies the highlight reel. We see the championship, not the practice. We see the promotion, not the overtime hours. We see the success story, not the silent grind. But every visible success is built on invisible consistency. The 1,000-mile journey doesn't begin and end with one step. It continues with thousands more. And none of them are glamorous. They're repetitive. They're sometimes boring. They're often unnoticed, but they are powerful. If you can learn to fall in love with the step, not just the destination, you become unstoppable. Because then, even when the summit is hidden by clouds, you still move. Even when you're tired, you still move. Even when progress feels slow, you still move. Even when doubt whispers, you still move. That's the real secret. Not talent, not luck, not perfect timing, movement, consistent, deliberate, intentional movement. Define what you want. Be clear about it. What does success look like to you? Not to the world, not to social media, not to your neighbors, but to you. Once that's clear, reverse engineer it. What skills are required? What habits are required? What sacrifices are required? Then break it down. Yearly goals, monthly targets, weekly plans, daily actions, hourly focus, and then execute. One task at a time. When setbacks happen, don't zoom out and panic. Zoom in. Ask, what can I control right now? What is the next small action? What is today's responsibility? That question will save you from overwhelm. Because overwhelm comes from staring at everything at once. Clarity comes from narrowing your focus. The journey of 1,000 miles truly does begin with a single step, but it is completed by thousands of deliberate ones. You don't need to see the entire path. You just need to see far enough to take the next step, and then the next, and then the next. If you commit to that, truly commit, you will arrive further than you ever imagined. Not because you were the most talented, not because you were the luckiest, not because you never failed, but because you refused to be overwhelmed. You chose to see the mountain as steps. You chose to see failure as feedback. You chose to see time as an ally. You chose to move consistently. And one day, you'll look back at the path behind you. You'll see distance, growth, strength, resilience, and you'll realize something powerful. The mountain was never unconquerable. It was just waiting for someone patient enough to climb it, one small, persistent, courageous step at a time.